for the people that are listening today, a special guest, Maria Markman. Maria is founder and CEO of Markman Media, professional corporate and personal branding specialist, public relations and promotions guru, Forbes Australia business development advisor, and Miss Metaverse contestant, amongst other things. Maria, thanks for joining us. Can you start us off? The thing that interests me the most is Miss Metaverse. Can you start us off, tell us a little bit about Miss Metaverse and how that came to be?
Thank you, Mike, for this introduction and the fact that I'm now Forbes Australia business advisor.
Was that a promotion? Were you not a business advisor to start with?
Not yet. I'm an active member of the Forbes Australia community and absolutely love to be engaged with them. But
hopefully that's the ticket capacity. In. Yeah, well, we will make that happen.
Okay.
Tell us about Miss Metaverse.
Hint to Michael Lane, the CEO of Forbes Australia.
We'll tag him in this too.
We will. Okay. Yeah. Miss Multiverse Australia. It's a beauty contest and reality TV show. It is a global contest which originated in Netherlands 10 years ago. And they branched out to different countries. And the one I participated was Miss Multiverse Australia last year. I was tapped on the shoulder, so to speak, and encouraged to nominate myself and went through several rounds of auditions. My initial response was, I'm out of the date range or year range. They had a limit on the website, 35, and at that time I was already 37, and I said, look, I don't think I'm gonna fit this criteria. And I was encouraged to get in touch with an executive producer. I've done so, introduced myself. I said, for full transparency, I'm older, but I'm very curious. I did go to modeling school in Moscow 20 years ago. I am not a professional model, but I do have a little bit of experience, and I would love to put myself out there and experience. And the executive producer, her name is Valeria. She's a professional model, very gorgeous human being inside and out. And she was like, oh my God, you look like you're 30. So please do. And I've done so. And it was very groundbreaking, very at times uncomfortable experience. First of all, there were 17 ladies on the event. We lived in a big mansion in Sydney for 10 days. We were surrounded by cameras, camera crews. Every day we had different activities. We had to wear swimming suits, various styles and shapes in front of not just cameras, but lots of people. So for me, it was really putting myself out there, pretty much half naked.
Yep.
And I trained before that, and I was on a special diet. So to me, it was a massive professional and personal growth.
Is it intimidating, and with all due respect, identifying yourself as part of the older age group, is it intimidating then going into a scenario like that and being up against younger women? Is that something that is a trick to manage? How do you get through that?
I was the oldest there. The youngest girl was 18 years old.
Yep.
So I essentially was competing against girls who were 10, 14, 18 years younger than me. And they were professional models. And they worked and still continue working with big Australian international brands. So for me, it was like, oh, where do I stand? I guess I knew my unique value proposition in that setting, and I embraced the fact that I was 38 at that time when the shooting happened, and I just embraced myself. Did I have to deal with certain fears and internal criticism? Of course, but I worked through that. The team was very amazing, supportive. I actually had my psychologist on standby as well, and I messaged her a few times, asking to help me understand what's really going on. I'll give you an example. One of the tasks that we needed to do is the surfing, real life, full on surfing in the ocean,
Right.
and I was terrible. I just couldn't stand up. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I experiencing so much fear and resistance to even stand up on the board in the shallow water? There were professional trainers supporting us, so I was safe. I was physically and strong, but something was going on. And then I realized that it was something connected to me being fearful of me losing balance in life.
Yeah, wow.
Because I've been on a transformational journey for the past few years, and me doing something new, standing up, and then losing my balance and maybe even dying subconsciously.
The one thing that's very obvious with your career is that it's very diverse, and there's a lot of things that you're invested in. What does your career look like currently, and where are you focusing probably your largest points of attention?
It's interesting. I always had that feeling that I do not fit any particular group, whatever I do in life. So when I was in corporate, I would stand out a lot in the way how I would speak out, how I would show up, how I would look and dress. With Miss Multiverse, I stood out a lot as well. I was kind of the oldest. I observed the girls just creating those little groups of 2, 3, and 4 and chatting and giggling, and I wasn't part of any of that. So I had to embrace and see, well, if I'm really kind of, I don't feel any mold, wherever I go, then I will embrace and just shine and be truthful to myself. So at the moment, what's happening, I'm a big advocate of mental and physical health. I am not against any beauty procedures or surgeries if needed. I really am not against. However, I'm very proud to say I am who I am. So I've never done any surgeries, Botox, fillers, anything. But I do invest in, of course, in my appearance, massages, but everything holistic for as long as possible. Did I answer your question, or you would like me to expand on this?
No, for sure. So what does self-care look like for you? You know, for someone that's busy in the modern economy, we often get little time to take care of ourselves. What is the routine of self-care, both physically and mentally? Because I guess we're learning more and more that they're so connected. To your earlier point, you know, the physical appearance, we often get sort of taken down a road where physical appearance is deemed to be something to not invest in, and it's not important, and it's the sort of thing that can make people feel at ends. My point of view is that the result of a physical appearance is often the investment in yourself. If you look well, it's probably because you're well. If you look unwell, it's probably because you're unwell. What sort of activities are you involving in self-care to make sure that with a busy career, you can stay healthy?
There are so many layers to this. Even up until recent, first of all, more and more people are waking up to the fact that we can't really separate our personal and professional lives. Yes, there is still that stigma of working 9 to 5, and you, especially when you're in corporate and you have managers and bosses to report to, and there's in Australia still heavily, it's like you work for this company, you have to be behind your desk between these times. And this kind of approach and mentality influences physical and mental health not in a good way. So I had to find a way to understand this and then remove myself. I do spend a lot of time in for myself to exercise, massages, different healthcare practitioners, holistic health. I do that consciously and put 3 or 4 hours on the side every day for this because it's needed.
Yep.
And I made it my priority. So a lot of people I can observe and see that they still leave work first, making money first. I flipped it. I had to flip it. And plus the pandemic, and we've been in lockdowns for 2 years. That made me do that as well. So I refocused on my mental, physical health. And now I'm plugging my business and my work-related activities and tasks into that.
Yep.
Because I realized at some point that without my physical, good physical health, mental health, I can't do anything else. My mind is not there. My energy is not there. And to be honest, these days, the energy is our modern currency, I guess. When we shine, when we feel good inside, it really comes through the energy, through the eyes. And it's so magnetic, it's so powerful. It attracts human beings like, oh, who are you really? What do you really do? So what I do, it becomes secondary. So people come to me because they want to experience my energy, or they want to really understand, so who is Maria? And that's all thanks to really me investing in my body and my mind.
Yeah, it's very obvious. I noticed it for myself probably 3 weeks ago. You know, I go through habits of, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's one of the things that keeps me mentally in the right place. And when I don't train, I quickly notice that even my self-perception starts to change. So the way that I see myself. And it can be something as simple as I'm having a bad day, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm not necessarily comfortable with how I'm feeling. I can go and get a good haircut and get a shave and come back and feel better about myself. And that's based on being able to go into the world with that level of confidence. Is it the sort of thing in your line of work? Are you facing challenges between the difference of, you know, how Maria looks and what Maria is capable of doing? How do you make sure that it doesn't just become about what Maria looks like, it becomes about what Maria has to offer as a person? How do you manage making sure that it's you as a person that's being dealt with?
Such a good question. Essentially, it's about balance. You know, that wheel of life with different segments. I want my wheel of life to be round. I want it to roll. Yes, there are fluctuations and different things to happen in life. However, I know people who have those wheels of life round, and they found a way to manage and deal with various challenging situations as they come in. So to me, look, appearance is important, of course. I'm a girl. I love beautiful clothes. I love looking after myself. I love doing professional hair and makeup. Like, I love all those things. And I do need to schedule my appointments with my beauticians and nails and hairdresser, but I call it maintenance. One of the things that I've done for years is when I find a professional, an expert, for example, a nail artist, I would stick with her for years. And then it becomes a part of my routine. I would make bookings in advance. It's in my calendar. It's like gym sessions. So I schedule my hair appointments in advance. Nails, gym, massages. So it's there and it's just ongoing. With for example, clothes, I worked with a stylist a decade ago. I revamped my wardrobe. I've done a few shopping sessions with her. I learned about different brands, different styles, what fits me. And now I'm just doing it by myself. I really enjoy. I don't do shopping often at all, But when I feel like I just want to add something to my wardrobe, I pop into a favorite store, or I just call them, and I source items. So it's easy. So I found this kind of created the structure to delegate certain things that need to be done. And I'm just rolling with that, because then it gives me a lot of free time to figure out and be creative and create content and work with clients.
Yeah. Let's move to personal branding. So personal branding is something that has really come to the forefront with the emergence of social media. In particular, these days, for younger people, not having a personal brand actually becomes something that they feel uncomfortable with. What is the importance of a personal brand in modern society? And, what do you offer as far as improving people's personal brands?
Well, personal brand is still a trend in Australia. It's well known that Australia is quite behind in many things. Fashion,
Exactly.
technological advancements.
Infrastructure, everything.
Yeah. So if we look at other parts of the world, US, Dubai, Russia, like everyone is working in their personal brand. Everyone is figuring out, creating content. There is so much going on. Here in Australia, it's like crickets. So I know a few people specializing in personal branding. We all approach with a bit of a different flavor, but we are all working on pumping up Australian market, and people saying it's important, whether we're aware of it or not. Everyone has a brand. To me, personal branding is who we are as individuals, personally, who we are as professionals, and bringing this together. It's not about lying. It's not about peacocking. It's about amplifying your achievements, experiences, everything what is important about you, to showcase it to the world so you can reach your desired goal or outcome as fast as possible, as easy as possible. So when you showcase yourself to the universe, then the right opportunities come your way. And if opportunities are not quite right as you want, then you ask yourself, so what do I need to tweak? How can I amplify my message? What kind of words do I need to use? What kind of content do I need to create? What kind of people I need to put myself in front to actually attract what I really need and would like in business, career, or life?
So there's one thing that always interests me, and it's the nature of building a personal brand. And that's fine, I think, when you're not attached to a corporation, or you're working for another entity. Where is the balance, do you think, between how businesses can better leverage their employees' personal brands, but what risks come with that also?
It is a bit more complex for corporate professionals, and I was there. I started working on my personal brand a decade ago. I worked for various companies in IT, combining IT sales and marketing. I was on the board, was heavily involved with an industry association, ACS, spent 3 years on the board and 4 years as the Victorian chair. At that time, I had to find a way and had quite a few questions. So when I put a post or say something on LinkedIn, will this be perceived as me speaking Maria working for this company, which is paying me salary, or is it me, Maria, a board director of this company? It was professional volunteering. I wasn't paid. So how do I separate, and is there conflict of interest? So it is more difficult to navigate in that journey in that sense, but there is a way. And hence it's so powerful to Firstly, it's important to understand what is really important to me, why I'm doing this, what's the purpose. And then if we look at LinkedIn, to position it in such a way so the profile is yours. It doesn't belong to a particular company because you work for it, and because they pay you money, salary, but it's because it's you, and speak on behalf of yourself. Now, to the part of the question, how do we bring the corporate brand and personal brand? I'm observing more and more in Australia that companies, especially larger companies, they consciously start inviting their employees to be more visible online, and not necessarily speak on behalf of those organizations, but amplifying the message, the values of those companies, and then aligning marketing strategy, the corporate marketing strategy, with the personal branding strategy, and marrying this up. And that's then build trust in the organization. It attracts better talent, and the benefits are limitless.
And I think particularly from what I notice on LinkedIn, most corporations on LinkedIn tend to have very small follower counts, particularly if they're not a very out there business, but yet their employees will have significantly more followers. So is being able to, as a business, leverage the skills of your employees and their social reach, is that really something that the business owner should be more conscious of going into the future?
The simple answer is yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because essentially, no matter what kind of business we are, B2B or B2C, we're all working with humans. And for an individual being more outspoken, it attracts certain people, and it attracts interest. I hear at times I'm scared I would damage my personal brand. It really depends how you perceive the damage thing. If you say something or if you put a photo up and someone doesn't like it and disconnects with you, well, so then be it.
Yeah, because they're obviously not ready to connect with your true self, right? Like they're making judgments.
Correct.
Yeah.
So me personally, I'd rather take that risk, but approach it in a managed way. So strategic, deliberate, hence personal branding needs to be done in various stages and steps, and getting the clarity of who you are, why you're doing this, what are your achievements that could support you and form that foundation for you to take it to the future is crucial.
There are some people that take social media a little bit too far, and some people, probably the younger generation in particular, they find so much importance in social media likes and social media following. If someone's invested in building a personal brand, how do you keep mentally healthy in not getting into a point where the likes and the follows are the thing that's most important? How do you maintain that level of balance?
Understand the why you're doing this, like really why, not the surface level why, but deep why, and then make it part of your work. This is my work. Me showing up online, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, coming here to record this podcast, it's my work. And it's ongoing. So going back to the why, look, likes, I do pay attention to likes as well. I'm not striving to get as many likes, so I'm not implementing any dodgy strategies to get those likes. However, it's part of the matrix and engagement. It shows the engagement. So important, have a look, acknowledge, and then move on. Create more content, put yourself out there, network with people, and so on.
For someone that doesn't have a personal brand established to any extent, but someone that's interested in venturing down that path, what are some of the key steps that someone needs to do in order to build a foundation for that brand?
Going back to the why. So what's really the goal? Some of my clients, I'll give you real life examples why people do that. Early in my journey, senior technology leaders came to me with this. I want to amplify my brand. I was like, really? You need help? I would love to work with you, but I didn't think they would really need. So more and more people, established professionals, corporate professionals, startup founders, they realize that how we really show up, how we are perceived, is crucial. Real life example. A startup founder said, Maria, I want to raise between $10 and $20 million in the next 12 to 18 months for my startup in the Series B. And I know that nowadays investors, they look at the product and they have how it is established or not established in the market and other metrics. But firstly, they invest in the founder, who that person really is. Other examples, Maria, so as cybersecurity senior manager, he said, I want to speak at this particular cybersecurity conference that happens once a year in this country. It was overseas, not in Australia. So the goals are different. Now, personal brands are already there. They do exist. So now the question is, what do you need to do? How do you need to package yourself in a such way that you reach your desired, your next destination in the most efficient and effective way?
Are there things to not do when building a personal brand? Are there things that people do that are silly and that could come back to haunt them? Are there any sort of traps that you need to avoid in building a personal brand and the messaging you're putting out on social media?
Look, whatever we do, it's all part of our journey. Based on my personal experience, I would say not to rush it, because there is so much noise out there. People are doing so much, and you, again, speaking from my own experience, and I observe a lot of influencers and I analyze their growth. I analyze the strategies that they follow online and offline and how they promote themselves. And I constantly remind myself that our journeys are different, and it might seem like a person had a massive jump and made a few $1 million in just 1 year. But then what that person went through for 6 years before that, you don't see that. And if you rush yourself through this journey, then you will just put unnecessary pressure on yourself, and that will stress you out. So to answer specifically your question, I would say just take a deep breath and just follow the process.
Trust your instincts?
Trust your instincts and do one step at a time. Yes, observe what's going on around you, but be cautious of that fear of missing out.
Yeah, following the trend, doing the thing that's popular. Yeah. Is there risk in establishing a personal brand? You spoke earlier about reinventing yourself out of the corporate world and into the new phase of your career. Is there a risk in building a personal brand that is that strong that it actually holds you in that category and it becomes harder to transition? Or more importantly, if someone is in that spot, how are we best to reinvent ourselves through these various stages of career growth?
I'm a firm believer that the growth and reinvention is constant. Can we pigeonhole ourselves in something very niche? we can, but we can also come out of it. So this personal branding journey is ongoing. And if we take me as an example, at the moment I'm personal branding, but in the near future there might be something else. There might be some psychology flavor coming in, but it's all blended in. It will never be like, I don't know, today I'm a policeman and tomorrow I'm is completely different. Fireman.
Yep.
And even if we change our careers or jobs drastically, it's still us. We still have certain values. We approach life in a certain way. We do things. So we grow and develop, but I wouldn't say it will change drastically. Does it make sense?
It does. It's interesting to me because there are some people who are defined by their careers and they don't have an identity until they have a career. And then people like that can sometimes go through their entire life and hit retirement and they're not working anymore. They no longer have an identity. Is building a personal brand really about putting you before the career? And is that giving you more flexibility to be changing career? Because now I'm known as me, so I can apply my skills to various different avenues. Is that sort of the way that we're looking at it?
That's how I look at it, yes.
Yeah. So a consistent evolution, but the evolution is really just your evolution.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Your career has been varied. So before you got to personal branding, you were involved in technology for many years. What was a career like for a woman entering into the technology realm, which I assume was a very male-dominated space when you were there? Any particular challenges that stood out to you? Is it something that's harder to position yourself in as a female in a male-dominated industry?
Yes. So one of the reasons why I decided to leave corporate is I got tired of continuously proving myself and asking for bigger and better things. IT is still heavily male-dominated. The latest statistic that I saw was 29% of females, or maybe it's just over 30 actually. Anyway, maybe even if it's 33%, it's not enough. And it's been like this for years. It's not changing. Again, I experienced terrible boys club where I was laughed at by executives right into my face.
Yeah.
And it felt yucky, but I didn't stand up for myself at that time. Well, first of all, because it was CEO of the company and a few of his direct reports present. I didn't know if it was the right thing. It kind of felt normal at that time.
At that time, sure.
So, look, it's not easy. It's not easy. That's why for females, it's even more important to get really the clarity of their identity and what they want in life. I removed myself from corporate cold turkey. I didn't have a business idea at that time. I didn't have another job lined up. I was still on the board and a few executive committees, but I removed myself from that 9-to-5 grind, so I can take my time, rethink, take a deep dive into my values and find my unique value proposition.
And so that's something that you clearly identify as knowing this is no longer right for me. I'm not achieving my personal goals. I'm actually probably not even healthy in this situation. Is that the motivator that had you move? Had you make that change?
Yeah. Also, by that time, I started getting various interesting, outstanding opportunities. For example, in July 2019, I was invited to speak at a CIO forum for chief information officers, which was invitation only. There were more than 100 CIOs from all over Australia there, and I was invited to do a keynote on females in IT. So that opportunity came through an introduction. But the organizer of the event, that person was based in Singapore at that time. She reached out on LinkedIn. We arranged the call, and so we never met before. She never heard about me before that, and she said, "Oh my God, Maria, your LinkedIn profile and what you've been doing in the industry, it's amazing. I definitely want you to be part of that event." That event went for 3 days, and they ended up inviting me or offering me to MC the whole summit for 3 days, which gave me, yes, I had to work. I had to be on point, on time, because I was opening different sessions, emceeing a fireside chat. But that gave me an opportunity to put myself out there for 3 days in front of my ideal clientele. And by that time, I already launched my business, Markman Media. So these kind of opportunities are very powerful.
And do those opportunities come, I mean, the one thing about seeing you on social media and the work that you do, it always looks like you're having a great time. Is that really about, again, going back to, now I trust my intuition, I do what it is that I know I'm good at. Is that the thing that means that you always get to have a good time doing what you love?
Yes. Yes. To have fun is crucial for me. Do I have moments when I don't enjoy and get super tired? Yes. Last week I spent whole week in Sydney at Forbes Australia events, forums, Growth Forum and Leadership Forum. I also managed to attend another networking event in between for women only in Sydney. It was exhausting, but did I love learning all that information, expanding my professional, business, personal horizons, taking photos with the founder of Culture Kings, with many other executives of well-known brands, corporate brands in Australia. Yes, so it's a mix. There will always be some sort of challenges and difficult situations in life. But now what I created for myself, most of the time, I have a lot of fun and I control my destiny.
Yeah. Do you look back now, 20 years ago, starting out as a model, do you look back and think, what a ride, like what a journey, all the things that I've done, relocating to Australia, in and out of corporate, building your own brand. How do you take time to sit back and be grateful for that? Is that part of the routine?
It is. It's always work in progress. I do remind myself and find the delight in every moment. I meditate a lot. It's a constant work. Now it's getting more a habit, and that happens automatically, like driving a car. But even a year ago, it was constant reminder of tuning into the moment and feeling the delight and the gratitude.
Yeah, being present is very important, and I think that's one of those things where social media can pull us into places that aren't the present. It giving us false aspirations of things that we need to be, or seeing a photo of this person on a yacht in this country, and if I'm not there, then I'm not good. Practicing gratitude and being grateful for the position that you're in when you're in it is one of those things that I think, particularly myself, I've had to get better at that, because I was always thinking about the next move. When we look at corporate career in particular, and for women that are in the STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, my industry in particular is one of those. For women that are entering a career like that and still facing this 70-30 split, what advice do you have for young women to make their voice heard in their career and to be able to define where they want to go?
What a great question, a deep question. Deep. Get clarity on what you really want. So what is it really that you want? And tune into your body. If something is being offered to you or something that is happening with you in the moment doesn't feel right physically, say it. So really tuning into yourself, expressing how you feel. If it doesn't feel right, say it. If you have an idea, say it. Be more outspoken. Really put yourself out there. Be more visible.
And is it about a fear of being judged? Do we need to become better at just being confident? Like the one thing that I notice in this industry, in my team, I'm blessed to have two amazing women that do outstanding work consistently. I would love to attract more of that talent into the business. But then outside of the business, the talent pool is quite small. How do we need to be messaging the right way so that women feel like that this is a career path for them? You know, what are some of the things that businesses can do, do you think, to make a workplace more inviting for females?
It's such a wide question. There are so many layers to this. If I think what would be really important, what would I like to see or hear or to experience back then when I was in corporate, I would really like to be supported in terms of I want to say emotionally, but like I want to be understood.
Yep. And by that, do you mean like as in what it is that you want to get from your career? Is that where you're understanding those objectives?
Career, employer, manager. What do I really want? What I would like? Where would I feel comfortable working? What kind of environment? What am I inspired by? What kind of career opportunities exist there? There are lots of aspects of that. Now, the $1 million question is, what do the companies need to do to showcase all their values and really walk the walk and talk the talk? You know, company might say we care about people, but a woman who's working for that company, is she's comfortable saying to her manager, I'm going through this period in my life, like I feel so sensitive and emotional, I want to cry. Can I just have a day off and not to feel guilty about that? And that manager, most likely a man, would say, completely understand how you feel. Please do. Please rejuvenate yourself and come back full of energy.
Yeah.
So that's what is important for women.
I notice particularly the trap or the pitfalls is the nature of businesses that are driven to make quotas. When we talk about making sure that there's 50-50, the negative to that I can sometimes see is that we go ahead and we recruit and we get all the women into the business, and then to your earlier point, then we don't support them and we don't platform them and we don't give them career options. Is that something that the businesses need to be more aware of in when a woman joins the business, discussing where you want to go? Where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years from now? How do we help you achieve your objectives? Is that the sort of stuff that CEOs and business owners need to be aware of?
Yes, and if she doesn't know, then help her to get clarity, because it's important. Yes, it's important to be in the moment, finding that delight, enjoy, focus on the tasks that need to be done. But it's also important to understand where we're heading. And if a woman has no clue what her career might look like, then help her get that clarity and make sure it's aligned. Because when it's not, then at some point she's like, so what am I doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, because people don't want to be made to feel like they're just a resource. They want to know that there's some direction. I've had the pleasure in my team, I mentioned before, two women in my team, and one of the girls in my team who, when I first joined the business, she was in a bit of a junior position, but had the fire. And it was very clear to me that this was a woman that had drive and really wanted to achieve. And to your point, working with her along that career path over now 3 years, she's in a position where she's about to take that next career step. For me, like playing that role early on in giving her that platform was where I think as a male, that's my responsibility. The one thing I've always tried to do is to never make sure that I'm telling her how to do her job, because that's another thing that men get really good at when they employ women, is they're like, okay, well, now I'm going to tell you how to do everything, and I'm not actually going to give you free rein. Is that also important? Giving people the chance to succeed, but also acknowledging that they're going to fail, and how we better supporting people as they go through those successes and failures.
But what is really a failure? To me, it's just an experience.
A lesson to learn.
Yeah. Well, failure, how's it defined? Do you put a number on it? And if that number is not reached, it means it's failed. But what about the process to get to that result? There is a result at the end, regardless of what you wanted or didn't want it. So I would encourage to relook or rethink what actually failure means. Like now I have no failures. It's all part of my journey. I might not quite like it, what I get in the end. I might stop and start something new, but it's not a failure. It's part of my professional and personal development.
And what a great point of view to have. And I think that's one that a lot of people, particularly, again, that exist in the social media realm, is that they're always comparing themselves to other people. So pulling that back to being gracious and looking within oneself. For you, what are the things that you are currently most grateful for with where you are in life at the moment?
Look, I'm grateful for all the opportunities that are coming my way and people who are on my journey supporting me. But it might sound selfish, but I'm grateful for myself. I'm grateful for standing up, expressing my truth, investing a lot. It might shock some, but over the past 2 years alone, I invested around 200K Australian into my professional and personal development.
Yeah.
But I look at all of this as an investment. Maybe you've heard in Melbourne, we had this amazing private health club opening up. It opened about less than three months ago. I'm going to give them a plug. They're amazing. Sun Haven, based in Collingwood. It's a project of Tim Gurner. Tim Gurner is in property development. You know him?
I don't know him personally, but I've followed Tim Gurner for many years, and he is an outstanding individual, like a young, go-get-it entrepreneur. And the work that he's doing at the moment, it's like every month there's a new, high-rise real estate project coming out of Tim's stable.
Yeah. So I got myself top-of-the-range membership, and it was scary. It was scary to make a commitment for 12 months. It's 500 Australian dollars per week.
Wow. Yeah.
But I invest even more than that in my mental and physical health. Oh my God, in the first 2 weeks, I got all the value back.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that something that people are scared to do?
Yeah.
People are scared to invest because they're worried about the return.
Yeah. What's that return on investment? I find it fascinating when some potential clients or prospects I speak with, actually those people, they didn't end up being my clients, but the questions I got, so what are your KPIs? So I invest in my personal brand. Well, what is your KPIs? What are you going to deliver for me?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a partnership. We work together. I guide you, but and I deliver certain things so that there are deliverables and they're clearly identified before the engagement starts. But essentially, it's up to you to reach whatever you want in life. It's up to you to raise $20 million for your startup. It's up to you to step into a bigger, better role with 20% pay rise and so on. So in a similar way, I can't say, how could I say to Tim Gurner, so I'm going to invest $25,000 in this membership. What are you going to give me?
Yeah, that's for me. Yeah. It's a very common question because everyone's driven by, well, I'm not going to do anything until I know I get something back.
So flip that. It has to be flipped.
Yeah. What can I put into the world in order to expect something back is probably a better way to phrase it. Maria, that's sort of bringing us to the end of today's session. For anyone that wants to get in touch with you, we will have links to all of your contacts. But for anyone that is looking to get started in personal branding or to really elevate their corporate or personal brand, what's the easiest and best way to get in touch, and how can people best leverage your service?
Multiple touch points. If you Google me, Maria Markman, first 2 pages are all about me. Check me out.
Yeah.
MariaMarkman.com is my website. Maria Markman on LinkedIn, Maria Markman on Instagram.
Personal brand strength there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Maria, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'd love to do it again sometime. Keep in touch and we look forward to speaking again.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really enjoyed coming here. For transparency, we did discuss the questions, but we ended up just being
It's very
the
natural.
flow. We didn't follow those questions like strictly. It's really enjoyed this conversational experience. And I would like to encourage listeners to let you know what they would like to know more of. Today we covered so many topics, and I'm very happy to take a deeper dive in different things.
Yeah, well, let's do that. If anyone out there wants to post any questions in the comments, and we'll file those away for our next chat. Thanks again, Maria, and wish you well.
Mike.